Hello, and welcome to all. I'm Lucas.
And I'm Martin.
And today we are happy to meet you on our show, the E-artTV show. Today we are going to talk about the modernist artistic movement. We have prepared various short materials to provide you with a pleasant and enriching program. Even the less knowledgeable person could understand. You will learn through these different parts what an artist wishes to convey in his work,
As well as how his work is perceived by the new generation today. We hope you will enjoy listening to our show. To begin, we will start with an artist interview. Without any delay, we ask you to welcome by our side the warm and lovely Yayoi Kusama, famous for being an avant-garde contemporary Japanese and artist painter, sculptor and writer born in the 1929. Thank you for accepting our invitation, Madame Yayoi Kusama. We would like you to know, for our first question, a little more about your life, about what inspired you to become an artist.
I shown an interest in art very early on. I started painting and drawing since I was 10 years old, and it allowed me to escape my hallucinations, and everything started like that. After seeing the tablecloth with a pattern of red flowers, I looked up at the ceiling, and there, on the surface, on the beam, were red flowers everywhere. The whole room, my whole body, the whole universe was full of it.
Okay, and we can also say that you're pretty ill, but do you consider that illness as more of a malediction or as a gift?
You could say my art is both sickly and therapeutic, just like my illness. But it allows me to escape the reality and my own suffering. My art intends to represent my feelings and my inner thoughts. I have arrived at a point in my artistic journey where I have to create an art which represents the rest of my soul, which takes into account the meaning of death, as well as the beauty of places and colors. And therefore, I do not think my illness is a misfortune or a gift at all.
Okay, and the ultimate question is that you are pretty proud of your job and of doing it, but it hasn't been always accepted. And how did it go?
I would say that my parents and all of Japan, for that matter, never really understood my work. That is why I moved to the United States when I was 27 years old, and it quickly became accepted. The American people are open-minded, I would say, and then I started agenting performances, which gave me a lot of criticism and forged the person I have become now.
Okay, and Miss Yayoi Kusama, thank you very much for this interview. Now we will go to our next interview, Mike Perry, which is a sculptor, a painter, and very famous in his fields.
Hello, and thank you for your invitation.
It's us who are glad to have you. You are an artist who started young in the art. Can you tell us a little more about your background and difficulties?
Yeah, it's true that getting noticed these days is not easy. Young, I changed my major to get into the art world. That was really exciting me. The beginnings were not easy. I started my journey as a graphic designer, particularly by making fashion catalogs. And then in 2006 I opened my own studio.
Interesting. Did you have in your life an important meeting that changed everything in your life?
Yes, of course. There is Anna Wolf, with whom I founded in 2007, and in 2014 Tidal, which is a binary magazine focused on art and culture, which allowed me to deepen my knowledge of the world of the paper industry.
Okay. And one last question. If we want to meet you, where can we do it?
You can find me through my online portfolio, and every year at the Cool Gallery, where we meet up with other artists to draw for 2 days. Hashtag Get Nude, Get Drawn, and the days will be published on my Instagrams.
Okay, thank you very much, Mike Perry. And now we are going to talk a new subject, the typography. To do so, our experts choose 6 subjects to introduce you with anecdotes and stories.
First, the Bauhaus typeface family is a small collection and sans-serif fonts of geometrical design with monotone strokes in each of its 5 weights. The fun fact about the Bauhaus typeface is that it has been designed for the Bauhaus school. It was inspired by the work of Edward Benguiat, which was not against the Nazi ideology. Next, Mrs. Hills is a transitional serif typeface designed by Zuzanna Liko in 1996. For the remainder, transitional or Baroque serif typeface are in between old style and modern fonts. Thus the name transitional. For the anecdotes, the name of this type was not chosen at random. Sarah Eves was the living housekeeper of John Baskerville. After being abandoned by her husband with her 5 children, she became Baskerville's mistress and helpmate with typesetting and printing. Bodoni is a neoclassical serif typeface designed by Guillaume Battista Bodoni in the 1798. It is one of the first fonts to move away from the calligraphic model towards a purely typographic one. The Bodoni font is used in the logo of the brand Bodoni, Calvin Klein, Mamma Mia, Vogue, and the Nirvana Group, among others. Montserrat is a geometrical sans-serif typeface designed by an Argentinian designer Giulietta Ulanovsky about 10 years ago. The interesting story of this font is that it is directly inspired by whole advertising posters in the birthplace of the creator, Montserrat district in Buenos Aires. Bebas-Neu is a sans-serif font family. It was developed by the designer Ryuichi Tsunekawa of Dormotype in 2004. The anecdote is that an Italian designer, Emanuele Braut, created an original project. It reveals the fonts used by the logos of major brands by copying the graphic style of the latter. It's very interesting. We're gonna conclude with Futura, designed by Paul Renner in 1927. It became the first widely used sans-serif font and remains a popular choice because of its efficient and clean design. The font that escaped the Nazi and landed on the moon. With all I say before, the font became a symbol of the future, and for the Nazis, that was the problem. Now we are going to talk about a special project at the crossroads of 2 worlds that of a singer and a talented designer. For this, we offer visuals that will be accompanied by the charming voices of our authors.
Now we are going to talk about a special project at the crossroads of 2 worlds, that of a singer and a talented designer. For this, we offer visuals that will be accompanied by the charming voices of our authors.
To create our illustration, we decided to take inspiration from the artist Jessica Walsh. Jessica Walsh is an American designer, art director, illustrator, and educator. She began an interest in programming and web design at a young age and went on to study graphic design in New York. Her graphic style is very original and refers to pop art with very pronounced colors. She also uses the body painting technique to create her illustrations. Her graphic design is essentially based on color and geometrical shapes. This allows her to create a style both in the vintage spirit of the 70s and at the same time with a touch of modernity to obtain something more contemporary. We also want to highlight this artist because 2 years ago she decided to design her own studio, and it's one of the 36 creative studios run by women in the United States. Airzone is a series of female portraits that carry a message. The color brings a dynamic and fun touch. Jessica directed the series twice. In the first part, the female portraits already carry a positive message. The staging is very simple, not color, just a black background with the colorful message on the only face of the photo. Minimalist but efficient, we still feel that Jessica Walsh was still figuring out what she wanted to do. The second part of the series has been completely revisited. There are now two faces in the photo. In a psychedelic and colorful universe, the messages are always simple and positive. The main interest lies in the message written on the girl's face. With the quirky side that she gives to her portraits, the project is a great success. Jessica made the project 14 Days of Dating with her fellow designer friend Timothy Goodman. This project has blasted her name around the internet and in conversations worldwide in 2013. It was about two friends with separate dating issues who might date each other for 40 days. Part social experiment, part design project, they navigate the friend zone while exploring their habits and fears in relationships. On a quest to find possible true love, it became the project of which she is almost proud in her career. So, we decided to experiment in the way Jessica Walsh did. We wanted to deliver a message through body painting. We used our hands as support. We used different tints of blue on each hand. We built a kind of tree with the members which intertwine. The shape can evoke many different things, more or less abstract. We just mentioned the title of the last album on the hands with upper and lowercase in order to make each glyph an illustrative piece in its own right. The gradient of the complementary colors, blue and orange, allows a warm atmosphere that opposes the contrasting element in the middle. It highlights the different facets of Chelou's music. The rendering is both vibrant with a bright orange and blue in the background and softer thanks to the central shape in greenish blue. We wanted this album cover and the poster to metaphorically represent the artist and his artistic intention. Now we will explain the relation between the choices and the music. The musical artist we choose is Adam Gray, better known as Chelou. He takes his stage name to the French word chelou, which means bizarre, because he likes France and he feels strange in this world. But this guitarist, songwriter and singer comes from Great Britain. His music is inspired by folk, rock, electro, psychedelic and lofi music, which give his music a unique and captivating genre. Listen to a song of Chelou and you will travel into many imaginary landscapes and turn into a shouting melancholy. He produced his first song in 2015 and his next album, Real, will be released soon. In November, he prides himself on this weirdness, both as an artist and as a musician, and it's perhaps for that reason that he is known to keep to himself. To conclude, I'm gonna explain the relation between our choice and the music. First, when we took the picture of hands, we painted them in blue-green to depict the softness and lightness of the singer. This color evokes serenity and invites calm. Organic shapes in the background reminds us of both artists. We can see in our picture tension in the hands contrast and illustrates all the different aspects of the music. Through his song, the artist sings his very personal story and feelings. Our hands allow us to write, to express who we are, so you can understand that we don't choose hands at random. Hands are the perfect symbol of creativity and minds that both artists own.
The first movement is the Swiss design. It was developed in Switzerland by Max Medinger, Armin Hoffmann and Emil Röder in 1940s. This style has influenced your world. These main characteristics are the use of linear typography, grids and geometry. This style is very colorful and abstract, in opposition of the graphic style used for advertising as a sign of protest. After Swiss style, the next movement is psychedelic style, a movement that appeared in 1960s and disappeared in 1975. The psychedelic style is very colorful and abstract in opposition of the graphic styles used for advertising as a sign of protest. The typography are very distorted and stretched to fit with an illustration of the layouts of the posters. There are also some details inspired by Art Nouveau, especially in the illustration. The third movement is postmodern. Postmodern design emerged in the late 1960s, formed and gained popularity in America and United States. The movement was a new generation of open-minded people who thought freely and created radical ideas against modernism, which they found to be a boring and simplistic approach to design. They wanted to mock political ideas, much like Dadaist approach, but with less shock factors. The whole premise of postmodernist design was an idea of an object with satirical quotes or photograph with the use of typography and collage. It's sort of a neo-Dadaism with photo collage, broken text, exploded color, black and white photos with bursts of color text, bright color and dramatic layouts. The idea of postmodernism is basically geometry shape, no grid, just messy design. The fourth movement, grunge visual design, is derived from eponymous musical and subcultural movement of the 90s. The term grunge was first made up to refer to a specific type of music influenced by punk, rock, and heavy metal. This design style is usually characterized by its grimy, layered, degraded and torn textures, use of grainy photos, distorted fonts, paint and/or coffee stains, twisted and irregular lines and frame, poorly handwritten elements, and cut of real-life photographic elements inspired by urban and industrial scene. David Carson is a grunge designer born in 1955. He became the art director of Raygun, a music magazine whose egocentric look perfectly encapsulated the grunge era of the 90s. It was his work that made him known. This perfect type of design is usually encountered in skateboard, underground music magazines, concert posters, alternative fashion brands, anything related to street art culture. The last movement is flat design, a symbolic representation of objects that does not admit any texture. Therefore, to highlight certain elements, graphic designers rely on a palette of color, shapes, and typography to guide the user. In other words, it's a question of putting a great blow of pep to the interface, which can seem simplistic at first glance.
For our final part, we offer you a short podcast of the 12 May movement of modern art, which will be interpreted in form of dialogues and exchanges between incarnations of artists from each movement. Let's play!
Hello everyone, welcome to this art session, the way which we are going to make the best artwork of all time. So to do so, we invited the best artists from modern art. How do we begin? Does someone have an idea?
Of course, I have an idea. I'm Maurice de Blaming from Fauvism Movement. I think all artworks should be colorful with textured brushwork and non-naturalistic depictions. This is the best idea for this work because it's timeless and innovative.
Yes, but we miss something here. We don't have any subject in that painting. I am Andy Warhol and I like to challenge the traditions of fine art by including imagery from popular and mass culture. Let's take Marilyn Monroe as our main subject.
Well, I don't want to be annoying, but Andy is totally outside of the box. Me, Claude Monet, I agree with you. We need to choose a subject, but Marilyn Monroe, who is she? No. We must paint something more realistic, such as daily scene like the street of Paris. We can paint open composition with lights, which accentuates the effect of the passage of time.
Thank you for your intervention, Claude. Just to refresh your memories, I'm Van Gogh from Post-Impressionism. I am like a better version of you, but with more details.
Van Gogh, you're not here to compare to others. Try to be more respectful, please.
Okay, sir. We can't paint naturalistic things. We must focus on abstract qualities and symbolic content, for example.
I totally agree with you too. but I suggest to add some structure to it. I am Pablo Picasso from Cubism movement, and I like to paint abstract things. I like to represent the subject from a multitude of viewpoints to represent the subject in a greater context.
Guys, sorry to interrupt, but you are all going the wrong way. You forgot to think about what's in your mind. I am Salvatore Dali and I represent Surrealism. It's a movement that explores the workings of the mind. We need to revolutionize human experience to balance a rational vision of life with one that asserts the power of the unconscious and dreams. We need to challenge imposed values and norms and search for freedom.
Well, thank you for your involvement, Dali. We will think about it for sure. I can see in the back that Gustav Klimt from the Symbolism movement is on cloud 9. What are your thoughts?
Oh, sorry, but you guys are kind of boring. I didn't hear what you said earlier. I just think that this artwork should reflect an emotion or an idea.
Am I boring? You didn't see me paint. Abstract expressionism is the term applied to new forms of abstract art developed by American painters such as me, Jason Pollock. Is it often characterized by gestural brush strokes or mark making and the impression of spontaneity? The name evokes their aim to make art that will abstract was also expressive or emotional in its effects, so I definitely don't think I'm a boring movement.
Well, if you didn't like what I proposed earlier, I have another proposition.
Van Gogh, you have already spoken about your movement.
Yes, I know, but I have something better than post-impressionism. It's expressionism.
And what this movement is all about?
It represents the world solely from a subjective perspective, distorting it radically from emotional effects in order to evoke moods or ideas. As an expressionist artist, I really like to express the meaning of emotional experience rather than physical reality.
Stop everything for a minute, please. Let's do something more simple. What about squares?
Who are you?
I am Victor Vassarelli from Cinetic Art or Optical Art if you prefer. I use optical illusions in my artworks to give the viewer the impression of movement, heightened images, flashing and vibrating patterns.
Yes, that's it. That's the idea. I think we should do so, but in my way. I'm Gerato Dottori from Futurism, and I totally reject the notion of aesthetics. I'm more interested in the beauty of the mechanics, the city, and the speed. Futurist painters use juxtaposing colors and shape to create dynamic rhythm and energy.
Oh my god, all of that sounds very confusing. Where is the freedom? Where is the humor in all of this? Can't we break all those stupid art conventions like we did during the Dice movement?
Well, you are right, Marcel Duchamps. Maybe you have something to help us?
Yes, indeed, I have this crazy idea that I'm sure will make you all agree. Let's mix all of our movements to create the artwork of modern art.
Alright, dear viewers. Here we are at the end of this program. It was a pleasure for us to have you on this show.
Hope you have learned thorough our presentation and see you next time. Bye bye.